What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Her Lounge podcast. So, happy Wednesday, because by the time you guys get this, it is Wednesday now. And before I get started, you guys know I like to start with a positive quote. When life gives you 100 reasons to break down and cry, show life that you have 1,000 reasons to smile and laugh. Because I know we're all going through it. And like I talked about last week, it's the end of the quarter here soon, October 1st. So everybody needs to just kind of end with a bang and forget about any issues and just smile and keep moving forward. Still having our summer sale, guys, on herappareltx.com. Go on there, get you some merch. And I just added some new stuff. Went over to the Hive this weekend, or actually on Monday, and actually set everything up and have the new stuff there. So I'm excited. This top that I'm wearing is our new kimono style shirt. So, that'll be there. It's kind of like that silky material. So it's still very cool for, our Texas weather. If you don't watch us or listen to us from Texas, then lucky for you, you're probably experiencing legit real fall weather, which I'm jealous about. So, y'all, so this weekend I went to church solo with my children. I was like very afraid, I'm not gonna lie, because usually I go with dad and me, and you know, we go as a little family. And if you're a single mom, then you know what it's like to just go with all your children, pack them up, be alert, put one in, put the other one in, and you always watching your back and so forth. And so, so all that stuff was kind of gonna be like, okay, here we go. We did it though, surprisingly. So went real smooth, no issues. So I was excited about that. And while we were there, guys, which I didn't know that Second Baptist did this, but they actually have a volunteer program where you go into like these schools and acres homes, and you tutor kids from K to third grade. And as someone who tends to talk a lot of mess about the public school system, I felt that it was my place to actually get in there and, back up what I talk about. And so I'm going to go volunteer. When you guys get this episode, I will probably be already inside the, I guess, orientation of it. So it's at 11 o'clock. And the crazy thing is that the school that I'm going to volunteer at is actually the school that Penny is zoned to. And she's not going there. So, but like, she is a zone there. And so I'm kind of excited because I feel like this is going to be the start to me understanding and seeing for myself what actually goes on in public schools, because, it's always easier to talk about things that go on somewhere. And if you're not actually in the actual action, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, then, you don't really have much to talk about except watching the videos of the HISD school boards that happen every Thursday, first Thursday of the month. Or I follow HISD on Twitter, and I follow Spring Branch ISD on Twitter. So all these accounts that I follow, that's a lot of the times where I get my information from, or something that I read on the internet or watch on the internet. So that's a little bit of where that comes from. And so I just felt like it was time for me to actually, start doing something. If I want to see change, it's going to take, all of us as parents. And a lot of parents, I think, do want to see change in the school system. I really do feel like a lot of parents don't want to worry about, what's happening. You want to know that when your child goes to school, they're not getting this garbage education, but actually getting, I mean, hello guys, if you're around my age, that school for us was just so different. And I talk about this a lot. So a lot of you guys, if y'all been following me for a while, sorry if this bores you. But this is my jam. This is what I like to talk about. And now that I officially have, this was already something that I like talking about, and I didn't have a child in school. So now that my child actually attends school, and it's not a private school, I just feel like I need to be involved and actually see myself From what I understand, this is now their third principal at this school. And 90% of the staff is brand new. So it looks like they're trying to like clean house and bring a bunch of new people in to make change in this school. And one of the volunteers said that when they Second Baptist has only been doing this for 7 years. So this is the seventh year that they've been going into these schools in HISD, especially Acres Home area. And so they go in, and like I said, they have different volunteers that go in and help children from K to third grade with their schoolwork. It's like a tutoring program, and it's just for an hour, and you kind of get them in increments. And so one child leaves and comes back. It's from what I was explained. And so she was saying the head lady of the school that I will be volunteering at. She was saying how when they first started, it was such chaos at this school to where when they would get there in the morning, there would be a line outside of the principal's office from children that were misbehaving. And she said school had just started. It had just started. She's like, they hadn't even had lunch yet. And there was already a line outside of the principal's office of kids that were getting in trouble in class. She said a lot of the teachers where they would volunteer, she's like, we're just volunteers. So all we're doing is coming in and volunteering. So like watching these teachers actually sit there and, y'all, I just realized I didn't have my microphone on, so I hope that y'all heard me. Oops. And if I sounded far, that is the reason why. So we'll see how that audio for the first half of my podcast went down. My bad. Anyway, so she said that the teachers would be screaming in the class, like, guys, be quiet, settle down. And it looks like it's an area where there's a lot of troubled kids. And I'm not a teacher, so I can't speak for teachers, but I can only imagine how that doesn't make you want to do your job when you have these kids that just won't listen. They they probably don't have a lot of discipline at home. Perhaps there's the father missing in the home, or the mother's missing. They live with grandparents, and grandma and grandpa are older, so they really don't have time, or to dedicate themselves to like helping with schoolwork or whatever the case may be. But they're hoping to see improvement this year with this new principal. And since she came in and cleaned house and hired 90% of the staff is brand new, they're hoping that this year there'll be a change. But if she's been there, the lead person for who I report to for this volunteering program, if she's been there 7 years, guys, and this is the first year she feels like there's hope, it makes me so sad, because I can only imagine what other schools are going through in HISD district, and it kind of sucks, because I've said this time and time again, and and it gets old, and I get it, but it is our tax dollars. And yes, I get it. If you can afford to take your child to private school, yes, please do so. By all means, it's your choice. You're the parent. You're the one that decides what kind of education your child should get. Completely get it. But for those of us who are, who can't afford to send their child to public schools, to private schools, you should have the same reassurance that your child going to school is going to get the right education, that they're going to know how to read, because the fact that you're a third grader and you still can't read is very sad to me, because as I watch Penny right now learning to read, and her being so excited to identify sight words that they're working on, or a punctuation mark, like when she's writing her sentences. And the other day I was reading to her and it had an exclamation mark at the end of the sentence. And she said, "Hey, Mom, you didn't add a lot of you didn't shout it the way it should be, like there was not enough emphasis on the sentence." And she was quick to correct me and tell me that. And so it was really cool to see that my little 5-year-old is able to identify things like that as we read. She's able to identify her sight words. She's able to, sound out all the words that she's working on. And so I'm really proud of her. And it's really a cool thing to watch as a parent, to see your child come home and learn and be excited about actually learning new things. This is her second time that she's had a spelling test at school, and her second time that she's made 100. So she's very proud of herself, as am I. And so, as parents, we should be worried about the type of education our children have. I don't know necessarily that currently in 2023 it is that important like it was for us when we were growing up to have a college education, because I just feel like they're giving such woke education in colleges now to where, they're just creating little soldiers for the future, and they're going to be able to manipulate them and manhandle them the way they want them to. So, we'll see, I guess, right? Only time will tell, but it is going to take us parents to actually get involved and show up and volunteer when we can, which is easier said than done, especially if you work. Like, Penny has early dismissal this Friday, and we were having breakfast together, Pete and I, and he goes, so for parents that work, like, what do they do on early dismissal, And it's like, exactly, for a lot of parents, them going to school is also a form of childcare, you know what I'm saying, while they go to work. And so I told him, I said, well, they sent out the early dismissal information the first of the month. So I guess the parents in this case have to prepare, a whole month in advance or however many weeks in advance to make sure someone's able to pick up their kid at 11:30, because they go to school at 7:30 and they're getting picked up at 11:30. It's not that long. You might as well keep them at home, I guess, if you're a parent that has to work and, you don't have that easy access to, leave whenever you want from work, which a lot of us don't. So I'm excited about that. It's a little bit about what happened this weekend for me. And then, guys, I don't know about y'all, but here lately, I know there's a big thing with I saw this video the other day about beauty trends and all the beauty stuff and where we are now, and how women are just into fitting this, picture perfect type of look, and, moms are not allowed to have mom buns, hence the one I'm wearing. And, you're just always in gym clothes and, blah, 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 and the Kim Kardashians. And what's funny is I feel, and maybe you guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not watching this on YouTube and you're listening to it in your car, go over to the video when you get a chance. And I'd love to see the comments about what you guys feel here beauty lately has been. And what I mean by that is this, right? It's like women are fixing their face to look this certain way, right? These standards that have been created. But if you kind of think about it, guys, we as people who consume are the victims of allowing that to actually flourish. And what I mean by that is we women have made Botox popular. We women have made fillers popular. We women have made BBLs popular, plastic surgery and all that, because we're trying to live up to whatever standard it is that you're trying to live by, or, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish as far as look. So I was watching this video, and it was a fashion video, which is funny, but she was kind of showing you fashion very mom looks, but that you can still look cute. And so she has said that she would hate to be like these celebrities who can't leave their house without being dolled up because, they'll be talked about. And so I guess really, to be honest with you, what I feel about that is this. It's like I am guilty of that. So, for example, I knew early on that I didn't know how much of dolling up I wanted to do for my podcast, because there was a reason why I called it lounge, her lounge, is because I wanted it to seem like this was a lounging place for us women to come together and have conversations, and men who now are part of my Discord. So you guys too. And I wanted this to, when I thought of the word lounge, when I got the name Her Lounge, guys, I want you to know that I was at a pub with Rob and my other guy who used to do a lot of the designs on my shirts and so forth. And we were sitting there, and I had been like contemplating what the name of the podcast would be. I didn't know what it would be called. At one point I thought, Chisme with Marisol, and I was like, do I really want to do Chisme? I don't know, that's kind of silly. So I went through all these names. I go use the restroom at this pub, and they have the word lounge with a sofa, like those long sofas that you can put your feet on. And the lounge was in old school lights, like they were back then with the big bulbs. And I love the vintage look of it, because if you know me, I love antiques. And so I love the look of it. And I said, oh my God, I got it. Her Lounge podcast. And that was how Her Lounge came about, because in my mind, it made me think of when I saw the word lounge with the sofa and the way they had that little section at the pub set up. It was like a place where, like, if you didn't want to be in all that chaos out there at the pub, it was like you were sitting there lounging with your girlfriends, because it had tables and everything where you can sit in this restroom as well and just have a conversation. And so that's kind of what I wanted my podcast to be, was a place where, I talk to other women, I'm interviewing other women. I didn't want anything to be so like dressy and I had to wear, a blazer, or I had to be dressed up, because my personality, 99% of the time, Monday through Friday, unless I've got to go to the store, to the store, like meaning the Hive or anything, I'm not wearing makeup. I'm either wearing my hair in a bun, my hair like split to the side but down, ponytail, something, because I'm always on the go. I don't usually wear makeup unless I've just now started to wear the makeup for the podcast here and there. But even then, I just would be like, well, I'm trying to show women that this is me and this is how I am most of the time. But I see other people's podcasts. I'm like, damn, that girl's all dolled up. She looks all cute. I'm like, well, I need to do the same maybe. And that's what I mean. It's like you start to see other things and you're like, damn, do I have to do that? And so back to the video, is this girl was saying how she feels like, she would hate to be the Kim Kardashians of the day or any celebrity, because they can't ever leave their house without looking a certain way, because paparazzi is there, and then they immediately start shaming. Oh, look how she looks without makeup. Look, her skin is bad and she doesn't have this and blah, blah, blah. You know what's crazy? Is that no one says that about the men. Like, no one says, look how fat he is now. Like, look how ugly. He has no muscle. Look at his chicken legs. Like, no one does that to the men in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? They may say they're weird, or, there's always some kind of other shit, but definitely never the same as the way female celebrities are critiqued. And we've always, as women, I feel, have to live up to this standard, right? And the reason I want to go into that is because this weekend, I also saw this news clipping article or whatever about another boy who won Homecoming Queen. And the picture, which upset me and made me feel like, why aren't we literally as women vocalizing about this? And I'm not done with kind of reading this book that I kind of grabbed. It's a very short book. And I just want to kind of like talk about how back in the days, women were one with their husband, and not in a good way. What I mean by that is, once you married, you basically didn't have a bank account. You basically had no say. You weren't in charge of your body. You were property pretty much of your husband. If you worked, your money went into your husband's bank account, so it wasn't your money. And we've come a long way from that, you know what I'm saying, to where we have this women empowerment thing, and we even have some women who just feel they don't need a man anymore, you know what I'm saying? We have those women who have this whole thing, this whole, girl power type of mentality where they don't think there needs to be a man in their life, right? And then, You weren't allowed to divorce back in the days. You had no say. If you were a victim of domestic violence, it was like too bad, so sad, because you couldn't bring anything to court. And then, and if you were a single woman back in those days, we're talking about like 1900s, guys. I didn't know this, but did you guys know that women who were single back then were called spinster? And there were spinster women who are, it was taboo. You're a single woman. Ooh, why are you single? It must be something wrong with you. And then here comes 19, maybe 20, somewhere around there. And if you're watching it on YouTube, you can go ahead and correct me and put it on the comments. Somewhere around there is when the 19th Amendment happened, that women were finally given the right to vote. And so we've come a long way as women. We've fought for so much. We fought for being able to have the same jobs as men. We're able to play sports. We have a basketball team. We have soccer teams. These are all women leagues that we have, that we didn't have back in the days. I mean, we have really... there have been so many women who have really paved the way for us. And for no one to be upset that a boy who identifies as a female, they've allowed him to win this crown, is really, to me, mind-blowing. That none of the parents of the girls on the court didn't say, like, did y'all really just let a guy win? Seriously. There's got to come to a point where there's got to be boundaries to this, guys, because if you're a feminist, where are you? Where are you, and why aren't you fighting? And why aren't we fought for so long. Women fought for so long to not be, like, put second, for us to have a say, for us to have a right. And I don't care if this person feels like a woman. At the end of the day, their body parts are still of a man, right? Their genes are still of a man. Their bone structure is still of a man, regardless of what they take in, regardless of what they've had or, done to themselves, the hormones, etc. Point blank, they're still boys or men. Why they should be given a crown for something that has been for women for so long, I don't get it. And why little girls are not upset about this and why they've been brainwashed to praise this is beyond me. It just makes no effing sense. It just makes none. Like, we can't just let men take over, ladies. Like, they're taking over. They're taking over the beauty industry. You've now got guys who with beards putting on makeup, which there's nothing wrong for that. But now they've taken the job of another female model who could be doing that same look. And they've given a whole brand deal to this male makeup artist, which I feel like if you're the guy doing the makeup on celebrities or any girl and you get a brand deal, get your model and let them show off your work. Your face with a beard is not necessary, in my opinion. And it doesn't make me want to buy that product because I don't have a freaking beard on my face. So I have no idea really what the product looks like because it's on a face with a beard. So no, I don't want to buy that. Hello. It is what it is. Same thing with clothes. You putting a transgender woman on there, it's not going to look the same as me because that transgender woman doesn't have hips like me, doesn't have legs like me, doesn't have fat between their thighs like me. You know what I'm saying? They don't struggle with finding the right bra size like me. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many other things that involve a look, especially when you're trying to sell to a woman. You can't sell something to a woman when you're not a woman. And we have bought into that. A lot of women buy into that and have found it okay and have now agreed to just be called birthing person have now agreed to be calling chest feeding women, like chest feeding individuals. Like, we're getting erased the way we were being, where we were considered second class, second to men in the 1900s. And we don't realize that slowly men are just going to come into the female world, and then everything you fought for, everything you argue about, you just let happen. So why be mad when a man takes your job? Because, hey, you never spoke up. You thought it was so cool to have this transgender woman all of a sudden, come in and take your job because she feels like a woman. What? He feels like a woman? I can't even talk, see, because it's all so confusing. So just because he dresses like a girl, a woman, and feels like a woman, now we have to let them take a position of a woman? No, you took the place of a real woman, sir. And now this female who may have been working so hard to move up the ladder will not get that position. But she's been so brainwashed into thinking like, oh my God, transgender girl, you've made it. No, it's a man that made it. Again, another man that made it. So what is the point of us ever being mad at, not equal pay when we're allowing the same thing to happen? These transgender women are coming in and, okay, well, you want to identify as a woman? Then you're going to get the same pay as a woman then, right? Because that's the whole argument, is that women don't get the same pay for a lot of females, which that whole thing has been debunked, but we can look into that more. So if you're a man who identifies as a female in the workplace, and now you've taken a position that a female was supposed to have, then you need to get paid like a female. And I want to see how quick that person will identify as a female after that. There's so much more that goes into being a female than just freaking dressing and wearing makeup and wearing heels and doing your nails and jewelry and all that. There's so much more to us. So much more to us. And this whole beauty queen thing, pageant, allowing men to participate, what? And allowing them to win, what? It's like, it gets more ridiculous as the year goes by. And I just cannot get with it as someone who is about women empowerment, as someone who supports women, as someone who, knows what it's like to have the struggles of a woman. I just can't get behind the transgender woman agenda. And I just cannot keep allowing this to happen and not talk about it. And if you're somebody that's okay with it, then get ready, because your future is going to look real manly. And we're going to be walking around with a bunch of transgender women doing and modeling and acting and all of the above. And then you're going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs and wonder why you can't get that job or why you can't have that position. And that's because you allowed these men to come in and dress up like a woman and take the job that was supposed to be yours. So think about that the next time you applaud this little boy for identifying as a girl and she won. That was the chance of all. And the girls have these little like trophies and they're like smiling like this and they're all hugging. It's like, no. Why are you hugging this transgender boy or whatever it's called, this boy who's dressed like a girl? And she's all crying and everybody's cheering. It's like, hello parents, wake up. They have homecoming king. Then if you want them to feel included, make a division for transgenders then. I have zero problem with that. Make a transgender league. Make a transgender basketball team. Who's going to watch them? I don't know. Are they going to be dressed up as girls playing basketball? So then why not just dress up NBA players who identify as women? Let them go on the court dressed like a woman, right? I mean, if you're a female who identifies as a man, they go on there dressed like a man and still play on the women's team. I mean, it just doesn't, none of it, just think about it, guys. Break it down to the T. It's just not possible. It's just not possible to do, and it's not possible for us to keep allowing this to happen. And yeah, that's just like, I saw that and it made me sad to see these little girls on the homecoming court, just like in their pretty dresses and they're all dolled up. And here this boy wins. This boy just wins. And he gets, the whole crowning and the flowers and everybody's cheering him on. And I'm just sitting there watching this video like, I just can't believe this shit. I can't believe this is what we've come to. And I'm so glad that I'm not in high school right now, because I so would not be behind that. Even as someone who, who has more of a conservative view, that would not fly with me. And it just can't keep happening, guys. And at some point, we as women need to put our foot down and say, enough is enough. Cool. You want to identify as a woman? We have no problem with that. But stop coming in here trying to act like you know a little bit of what it's like to be a woman. You don't. You don't, because you don't even have the emotions of a woman. You don't even have you're not even wired the same. Men and women are wired differently. So we're not even wired the same on top of that. So stop. Just stop. Just stop letting this happen, and stop letting men use the girls' restroom, and stop letting us, just keep allowing people to join beauty pageants. If you want a beauty pageant for transgenders, have one for them. But stop putting them in the female category, because a lot of these women spend a lot of money to look a certain way. And here this man just comes along and he's winning. So what are we winning? What are we as women winning if we're allowing this to happen? Nothing. We're back to square one. We're back to the 1900s, where we don't have a say, where we can't get access to, jobs, and we're getting like the shitty pay, and we're getting all these things. Next thing you know, we're just gonna go back to not having a voice, and it's just men taking over again. Men in skirts taking over. Hello. Like, have we not realized where this is going and how dangerous this is for women, and how bad this is for women, especially women who are trying to move up the ladder in the corporate world? Just because this person identifies, you women who are in corporate America and want to move up the ladder better start identifying as men so you can move up. You think they're going to treat you the same? Absolutely fucking not. They're not. Because now you're the female that identifies as a man, and you're going to try to move up the ladder of a bunch of men. You think they're going to see you as men? Absolutely not. They're not going to treat you like a man. But here, women embrace the transgender female so much. Oh my God, you're so brave for that. What? You're so brave for putting on a dress? You think that makes you a female because you felt like that's how you felt that morning? It just doesn't make sense, y'all. And we've got to put a stop to this, because it's happening in the schools now. And again, it goes all full circle of what my problem is that school is for education. School is so that our children can read and understand and make decisions of their own and have critical thinking skills, not this BS of, we are not going to teach certain things because it's racist, or we're not going to do certain things because, it offends other people. It's like, let's just have it black and white. Teach what you're supposed to teach the history, teach the science, teach the math, all the skills that we need, teach that. And let's just stop with the, issues of identifying as a cat, identifying as whatever it is you identify as. It's like, at the end of the day, we know we do have a mental health crisis, and we know it's bigger than ever. We can see it every day. And instead, I feel like when they're that little, we need to find them help, and we need to give them therapy. And if by the time they graduate high school, they have a better understanding and perhaps they still feel that way, then I feel like you've had a very long therapy, long enough therapy for you to know that this is exactly what you want and you would like to transition. And at that point, what is it? Our frontal lobe doesn't even, right? Is it called the frontal lobe? Let me look this up real quick. If I'm not mistaken, that doesn't develop for most of us until we're 25 or 24. Frontal lobe, here we go. So it's behind the forehead, including areas concerned with behavior, learning, personality, and voluntary movement. So your behavior and your learning and everything that you're trying to adapt, your personality and everything, it's not even fully developed until you're about 24, 25. And here we're allowing this nonsense to be happening as young as kindergarten, even younger for some kids whose parents are on, I don't know what world or what planet they live on, which they don't identify them as boy or girl because they're a they be. I mean, it's just the silliness. Just think about everything you can possibly analyze about they bees, anybody who identifies as they them, anybody that identifies as a cat, anybody that identifies as a the new one I heard was what is it called? Trans. Dang it! I'm gonna have to look that up too. The newest thing is that now there's people who want to identify as handicap. So they've been purposely hurting themselves, like hurting their legs. They've been going into like doctor's offices asking to be like get their backs cracked so that they can be disabled because that's who they identify as. I mean, think about this nonsense, guys, and what we're going through. Just think about the person who was actually born with no legs. Think about that person. Think about the person that perhaps had an illness and they were hurt and now they're in a wheelchair or they can't walk or they got to be in a walker for the rest of their life. Whatever the case may be, they have to depend on someone else for that. Do you think that they purposely would like to be that way? I don't know that they would purposely like to be that way. It's a hard life, to have to depend on someone to wheel you, to push you, to make sure you can get dressed because your bottom half is non-functional, all those things. And now you have just this person who identifies, I think it's called like trans, give me a second here. Let's see. It's called identifying as handicap. Let's see. Here we go. Transabled. So this is called people choosing to identify as handicapped. So, I mean, it's called body integrity identity disorder. So we have people who are identifying as transgenders. And now we have people who are trying to identify as disabled. And those folks are called they're called transabled. And I don't know where or what or how you have thought about that. Like, I'm curious as to what these people, what other type of mental illness they have to where they'll mutilate themselves, ask surgeons to amputate, okay? Or transection of their spinal cord. And that's the one that I was telling you guys about. So, it's just like we're in a world where everybody seems to want like some sort of attention. Like, hey, look at me. I'm a cat. And so I want to identify as a cat. You better put a kitty litter in the bathroom. Otherwise, I'm taking this to the news. Now you got these folks, these transabled folks, who are purposely mutilating themselves because the one that I had seen was the girl who caused herself to be blind. And that's the one that I was like, that's it. I can't do this anymore. I can't. This has gone way too far. We have got to put a stop to it. At some point, some of us that don't have a legit mental illness have to come together as a community and have to start saying enough is enough. And we don't have to be ugly about it. We don't have to be a-holes about it. But not agreeing with it is the perfect way to start and put an end to all this nonsense, because it just is going to continue to escalate from here if we just continue to accept all of this. Wouldn't you say? I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about this transabled thing. I'd love to hear about how you guys feel in regards to, boys winning homecoming queen, because at the end of the day, it's still a boy, and whether or not they feel the way they do, that is fine. And whether or not they claim that they're going to commit suicide, there's not enough evidence for that. There's not enough studies for that. So if you are going through that and you're believing that nonsense, you have got to find you a new therapist, find a new psychologist to help your child, because I don't know how a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old even knows the word suicide. And if they do know the word suicide, somewhere or someone in your circle has introduced them to that word, and that is the problem. You have been the one to feed your child that this is how they should feel should they not be able to transform into whatever it is that they're wanting to transform into. So and if you don't agree with me, I want you to leave a comment as well, because I'd love to hear your point of view, because I try my best to see the point of view and where these other individuals are coming from. And so I try to be understanding, which is the reason why I read so much up on it. But it's like we can't keep allowing this to happen, because I feel like we as women are going to be just deleted. We're going to be out, because pretty soon, right, men are going to be able to have babies. And I don't know where they're going to birth them through. Maybe their butthole. I have no idea. But all of this is just getting out of hand. And as someone who is a female entrepreneur, as someone who supports female entrepreneurs, as someone who is all about women empowerment, I can't agree with this, and I'm not going to agree with this, because pretty soon we're going to not be in existence. And I would love to know what you're going to do when that happens, because now what so many women fought for will not be available to us. We're just going to be those girls, those females over there, because these men who feel like women have just taken over, and we're back to square one. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Please, guys, don't forget to share, comment below, tell a friend about the podcast. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the little bell so that you know the next time I upload a video and or podcast. And go on over to herappareltx.com and get you some merch. Bye.